Hi guys, this is a video on for beginner watercolorist or those who are interested in watercolor, of how to get started and what materials I use. So if you like the channel, please like, subscribe, comment. That's appreciated as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you have any particular thing you want a more in-depth review on, please make it in the comment, and if there's enough people with that same issue, I'll make a video. There's some links, Amazon affiliate links provided below. I get a small commission from Amazon at no charge to you if you decide to purchase some anything through those links, so please consider it. So anyway, without much ado, I'm going to go through, that's very rhymy, of the materials I use, right? And I'll start with the basics. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff here. I kind of just jumble stuff. Color wheel. For me, this is a must-have because I need to see the contrast. Oh, it's got dirty here. Damn. I need to see the contrast. I need to see how to mix my colors. I need to see, and I need it as a reminder. So for me, this is a very useful thing to have. It's a pocket color wheel. Most color wheels are the same. I would suggest also making your own and figuring out how it works. Anyway, so that's one color wheel. Okay, so that's the theory part. I would also recommend, if you are a person that likes to do an underdrawing, I would also recommend using some pencils, depending on how you want to use your graphite. I use a Pentel graphite 0.3 and a Pentel P205. This one I think has a HB, which is a slightly darker shade, and this one has, I think, a 4B in it. So I like a darker shade when I'm doing my graphite work so I can see it. If you want to, you can use a normal 2B pencil. That's fine. It depends on how you want it and how light and how strong you want your marks to be. Normal 2B pencil. This one's an older one, but you know, you take it. Also, if you are using graphite and you have your drawing, you tend to be more of a, I don't know if you tend to be graphite heavy. There's Lyra graphite sticks. This one, I think one of them is water soluble, one is not. I use these two sometimes depending on what I'm looking for. So, you know, and it also depends on the size of the stuff, the drawing or painting. Okay, so that's pencils. Oh, there's another type of pencil as well that I use, which is watercolor pencils, and I use these for details, or sometimes to block in, dependent on what. This is Derwent watercolor pencils. I find they give me a good saturation for what they are, and I got them pretty cheap. Someone didn't want to, you know, I think they came without a box or something, so that's why the person probably didn't want it. I use them for drawing, and I also use them for watercolor to get detail. Paper stub I recommend as well. You know, you get a paper stub in case if you're using graphite especially and you want to just rub it in, or kind of blend it to get a softer line. It's up to you. I use it. Pens. I tend to use water, depending on the ink. I use waterproof. I use Sakura Micron pens 0.5. I also use 0.3s. These inks tend to be waterproof. So when I paint, the water doesn't make the line all fuzzy. It keeps the line there, so that's why I use them. The pens themselves are not reusable. They don't last that long, but for what I use them for, and the technique I use is that I would use these heavily. Also as well too, depending on the color, I could kind of shade it in. I got different colors, so I can kind of work with that in there. I also use a fountain pen. In this case, I think this is a Noodler's. I forgot the name of it, but it gives me a variable line. It works pretty well. I put, I think I used Noodler's polar bear ink on it as well. Noodlers is this brand here. They do fountain pen inks that are water resistant or fade proof or waterproof or whatever. I use mauve rose, and I also use black, polar bear black. I put that thing in here in this bottle simply because the pen doesn't reach all the way down to the end. So it's easier for me to draw it out from a shallower bottle than this type of bottle. So I find it a bit easier. I also use India ink, Higgins fountain pen India ink. This is non-waterproof ink. So if I want to blend, I use this as well with the stump sometimes, or sometimes with the brush, depending on which brush I use. Okay, so that's that. 1, 2, 3 brushes. I tend to use a variety of brushes depending on the types of mark I'm making. I like these squirrel type brushes. So this is a Vinci 2 Casaneo. This would give like more like a it's a very soft brush, so it gives I think it's squirrel here or synthetic squirrel here, but it gives like a kind of belly line. Same thing for this pile. No, this is silver black velvet oval. This is another one that deposits a lot of watercolor at the same time. This is the Princeton Neptune 6. Again, great brush. These brushes, these 3 brushes, and also I use this as an oval, the Princeton Neptune half. These 3 brushes tend to take up they draw up a lot of water and pigment. So if you're using them, just be aware that you're going to be, depending on if you're using heavy saturation, they're going to draw up a lot of watercolor into the brush itself, simply because of the size and the filament material is made. So it uses a lot. I also use, on the pencil side, did I say that I use the roach ring? Yeah, I use the roach ring, 0.5. Yeah, anyway, back to brushes. So those are those brushes there. I use these, which are the Casaneo, Da Vinci, as well as different sizes, so 16, 12, and 8. And these kind of more square brushes, they give me a nice fine line when I'm doing stuff. Right? So that's that. Also, another flat brush which I love is this Coleman flat. It's very bouncy. It gives you like a lot of springiness. I don't know if you can see that, but it gives a nice fine line as well. And I use this also for lettering. So that tells you the degree of fineness. For finer marks, I use I think this is a Skoda 4. This is a Kolinsky Sable, and this is a Skoda 8. So I have a range of Skodas here, these 2 that I use to make bigger marks and smaller marks. And I love the Kolinsky Sable for keeping their point. This is very handy, like the pocket size, and the bigger one is, very handy as well too. I think this is a Pilot or something. I use this. I like the brush ends, which is this. Instead of using it as I think there's a fountain one, I just use the brush ends. Let me see. Yeah, I just use the brush ends. It gives me a nice fine line, very, very firm brush tip. All right. This is a Pilot, I think. A Pilot. No, a Pentel something. This is a Pentel. This one is okay. I use this like more for convenience. I want to take it, just do something quick sketch. Very nice. Right, so that's space there. Okay, paper. Let's do paper quickly. It's a small space I got. Anyway, so for paper, there's 2 types of paper: hot press, cold press. I use Fabriano Studio watercolor paper. This is a hot press, very smooth. I think 25% cotton, 140. One of the tricks I do is that I glue the sides here, and in my case I use acid-free glue, so I'm not worried about it coming onto the paper in terms of it any acid from bad glue leaking on. This is acid-free glue, and I'll provide a link to that. I think it's pH neutral or something it's called. I can't remember the brand, but I got a bottle of it and I used this here. So this is Fabriano Studio Watercolor. This is a Daler-Rowney drawing pad, but I also use it because I've stuck the sides as well. Very nice. I wonder if I have an extra pad there somewhere. Okay, so I don't got an extra pad on that there somewhere. But this is a Daler-Rowney. I think it's, I'll put the link. This here, Fabriano. I haven't used this as yet, but I haven't used this particular pad as yet, but I've used other pads in the same thing. This can take watercolor. It's 100-pound paper, 270 GSM 9x12. So this is good value for money, for me anyway. 20 pages. So it's Fabriano 1264. Again, I glued it, right? So this here is a Daler-Rowney. There's another pad. There's a weird one. Oh, okay. This is Cardi paper. I love Cardi paper. I tend to use it a lot for drawing, inking, stuff like that. So Cardi paper, tend to use it a lot. Again, I have glued the edges here with acid-free glue. What's the brand of that glue? I wonder if I got it here. Oh yeah, I got that glue there. That's second there. That's this brand, Linaco. So it's this brand here, Linaco pH adhesive, permanent PVA, do not store adhesive, pH neutral. So this is an archival glue, and I would recommend it instead of using normal glue, because the normal glue, if it's not pH neutral, or if it's glues are acid free, are not acid free, if you put them there, I'm afraid that it might leak onto the, or be as watercolor is absorbent paper. If it leaks on, it could kind of damage the painting eventually as it seeps through the paper. So that's my opinion on it anyway. What else do I use? I use a watercolor color palette. This one's, I just cleaned it out relatively. It seals it in, airtight, no problem. Okay. Other watercolor. Now the watercolors I use. Oh, let me move some of this stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Gosh, and I don't want to keep this video too long. So the watercolors I use are Desert Southwest watercolor set. I haven't used this set as yet, which is the Quinacridone Quintet watercolor set. This tends to be reds, right? And I haven't used the Cityscape or the Made with Honey watercolor set. What is this? Is this a primer? I haven't used this as yet. Damn. Okay. So I haven't used these. These are pretty expensive, but the thing is that they're with honey, so it kind of prevents the mold, which kind of gives me extra assurance. I have used the gouache in it, which I do not know where I've put because I'm not a big gouache person. So I'm supposed to be using these pretty soon. I tend to be thicker with my watercolor. Oh, I found my 2B pencil. Okay, great. Maybe I'll eventually find where I put the gouache. Who knows? I use some Daniel Smiths. I love Daniel Smiths. Very transparent, but gives you great saturation. I use some Winsor Newtons. I think this here is Meiji or something, Mijello. So these are supposed to have some good light fast ratings, so I use these. I like them for what they give, and they give a range of colors. But personally, if I had to do it all over again, I would have kept with the M. Graham, because I'm just impressed with the gouache from what I've gotten so far. So I'm quite happy with the gouache. What else? I think that's about it. I mean, here are some examples. This is where I've used the M-gram gouache and it gave me the effective ones. Nice heavy body. I've used again some gouache and stuff in here. No, this is transparent. This is almost a pure watercolor where I've used line, I've used some watercolor, graphite, etc. So it's a bit of mixed techniques in here. And I think those are it I have, right? I would really like to remember where I picked the M-gram gouache, because now I'm looking for it. Anyway, what do I recommend for beginners? So for beginners, I would say get the basic water set from M-gram. It's good value for money. You get a good size in it, which is, I don't know, I think this looks like an ounce or something, which is really good price for watercolor. You get yellow, I think this is a red, a blue, a green. I didn't honestly see the purpose of a green, but whatever, because you can mix a green, right? I would have preferred a cooler light or warmer blue. Well, maybe a pytho blue, but anyway, on a black and a white, but whatever, you know, they gave us this. So this I think is good value for money. It's about $60 US. Starter kit, I recommend getting the paper that I just shown, the Fabriano. If you're going for, you know, if you're going for like just starting out and you can't afford, you know, watercolor paper, you can use normal paper, but it's gonna buckle, so you're gonna have to throw it away. So it depends on how the type of practice you're doing and if you want to keep what you've done or not. If you don't want to keep what you've done, doing with ordinary copy paper is fine, but you're just gonna have to throw it away afterwards. So I would highly recommend just getting a 90 gram or 140 gram piece of paper pad and using that. The one I recommend is if you're doing more like detail stuff, the Fabriano that I showed. You get 50 pages in it for, I think, really good price, studio watercolor. Or I would recommend the Canson XL, which is, one second there, which is this here. I've started on a watercolor with it, which is this. So yeah, this is 11 by 14, I think, 11 by 15. I would also recommend getting 2 small pails of water or jars or something like that. This is water here. One to clean your brush, and one to clean the brush after you've cleaned the brush. So one type of water gets dirty, the other one keeps relatively clean. And that is so when you're doing that. Get some tissue paper, normal paper, paper towel paper, and use that to clean off your brush properly. In terms of using your brush, I mean, you're gonna have to learn to manage water content, which is basically the transparency or saturation content of the watercolor, and learn to manage basically how you're doing that, which will come with practice. So yeah, I think that is it about the supplies I use. If anyone needs anything else, let me know. One other thing, yeah, if you make mistakes in watercolor, I recommend using the paper towels. I just damp it off before it gets dry, and try and pull it off. The only thing is that if your paper is not very good, like let's say it's not cotton, what happens is that you tend to pull off the paper, like it's when you're rubbing, depending on how vigorous you run. So anyway, that's it, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, I appreciate it. This video is nearly 20 minutes long. Oh my god.